I love the Switch 2. It's been great for playing video games on the go. But I recently built a PC, and I want to see which is more worth it. This is probably one of the most detailed comparisons of PC to the Switch 2 up there. So if you are watching this right now, please subscribe and leave a comment talking about the most expensive piece of tech you own. Let's get started. When you're talking about tech, it's smart to talk about costs. So I'm going to go through and show you what I bought for the Switch and PC side of things, going through each part and accessories. So we got the motherboard, the RAM, it's 32 gigabytes of DDR5, 2 terabytes. This was the AIO, it was about $50. And this is the most expensive thing in my PC right now. It costs about like $400 to $500. It's an RX 7600. I think it's pretty good for like 1080p. And this is the power supply, 850 watts. And this is the case. Came with friends. It was about $100. So I bought a controller, this GameSir controller. For the Switch 2, and I bought the Switch 2. As you can see, the Switch 2 is way better for gaming. With that said, I'm going to be grading the Switch 2 and the PC with 4 sections: versatility, price, experience, and performance. You might not have the same PC I do, and that's like a big reason for people, because they might have like a smaller budget. And if you do have a smaller budget, I would recommend for gaming the Switch 2, because it's just cheaper and has much more potential for $500 instead of like a PC, especially with the RAM crisis right now. So Nintendo did get a lot of backlash after releasing the Switch 2 at a whopping $500. And this is because the original Switch costed $200 less. But then a year or so late, no, not a year, what am I talking about? Like sometime later, Microsoft released its ROG Xbox Ally, priced at around $1,000, and then everyone just backed off real quickly. Now, since we already talked about the price, I'm going to move on to the next section, versatility. Basically meaning how it or someone can adapt to different situations. If you are taking something like a Switch 2, for example, it should be versatile because you can take it almost anywhere and still do what it's designed to do. Play video games without having to connect the charger, battery, or just like have any external like cables. This is very different with the PC. You can just bring at least like 4 cables, a monitor, but not even to mention the mouse and keyboard, and it's just a super big hassle to set up. While the Switch 2 is just grab and play. This is pretty obvious, but did I mention that the Switch 2 has a whopping 1080p handheld resolution? Now that might not seem like much, but trust me, it is when it's on a small screen. To put it to perspective, my top monitor has the same resolution. It's also touchscreen, so that's a big plus. But there is also one thing that the PC has, which the Switch 2 does not. The ability to customize and browse the internet, make YouTube videos, so like it basically can do anything you want it to. So I'm just gonna give both a check mark. Now we are moving on to probably one of the most important sections of the video. It's all about the performance of the PC versus the Switch 2. Now this is going to be harder to diagnose because to have on-screen diagnostics, I have to mod the Switch 2. And most of us know what would happen if I tried to do that. But anyway, let's try to do this in a different way. I will play 3 games for both computers to run and see which one I found is smoother and better. The 3 games are Fortnite, Apex Legends, and Star Wars Outlaws for the Switch 2, and Where Winds Meet for the PC. I'm not rich enough to buy Star Wars Outlaws for PC and Switch 2, so I found the game closest to it in graphics that I have. I'll be spending 30 minutes in each game, no more. At the end of 1 hour playing both games, I will decide which experience was better. But first, let's understand how the Switch 2 gets your 4K visuals at 60 FPS. I'm going to do this fast, so listen closely. When you play a video game or watch a 3D animation, the images you see on your screen didn't exist before that moment. Your computer actually has to create them in real time. This process is called rendering. First, the computer builds a scene. Every object in a 3D world, like characters, buildings, or trees, is made from thousands of tiny shapes called triangles. Triangles are used because they are the simplest shape a computer can calculate quickly. Next, the graphics card, also called the GPU, takes over. The GPU is designed to do thousands or even millions of calculations at the same time. Its job is to figure out where every triangle should appear on your screen based on the camera position and the movement of objects in the scene. After you do that, comes a step called rasterization. This is when the computer converts those triangles into pixels, which are the tiny colored dots that make up your screen. The GPU determines which pixels belong inside each triangle. Once the pixels are chosen, the computer calculates their color. It adds textures, lighting, shadows, and reflections using small programs called shaders. This is what makes objects look realistic instead of flat. Finally, the finished image is set to your monitor. This entire process happens extremely fast. In many games, the computer renders 60 or even 120 frames every second. So every time you see smooth moving game or animation, your computer is constantly rebuilding the entire thing from math, triangles, and light all in real time. Anyway, this was written by ChatGPT. I kind of understand how this works, but I just don't want to take credit for writing the script. Just wanted you guys to know that. Alright, what's taking so long? Yeah, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. You're staying. We still have more to learn about. DLSS. Wait, are you listening? I think he's dead. DLSS stands for Deep Learning Supersampling, or in other words, AI frame generation. This is actually not as hard to explain as one may think. So here's a quick summary. Let's say your graphics card has enough raw power to generate 30 real frames of a game per second. This is where AI comes in. The AI will multiply the number of frames, let's say, by 4. The best way I found to understand this is to take 2 consecutive frames. Let's take frames 23 and 24, for example. The character may have moved their sword from one spot to another in that time. The AI would then put 3 frames in between, making that movement much smoother. To make the frame look real to the game, it would look at the raw frames first. That would basically make the game go from 30 FPS to 120, which is a really big jump. The reason I am talking about this is because the Switch 2 relies heavily on this in docked mode. It even beats my own PC in some games, because AMD's version is not as good. Hotspot right now. Here.
First blood, and it's not us. Wonderful.
Oh. There's like a big percent chance these guys are bots. Okay, I'm getting the F out of here. I really don't know what's going on. Oh. Okay.
Giving my shields a recharge. We should go this way.
Charging up my shields.
We're going to do Fortnite last because I remember that you could get Breath of the Wild on PC, so we're going to be comparing them. And if you want to learn how to get Breath of the Wild on PC, you can watch my video, and it's pretty simple. It's just that you need someone explaining it well. All right. Yeah, you're dead, bro. Yo, this is getting annoying. Yo, how this guy's like a tank. He's not hurting. No, please. Oh, you just died from the fire? Lucky me. You can consider this forest right here, like, gone. Yo, are these girls still getting totally... My bad. No, I understand why you got beat up by them now. Shoot, I was gonna use that. It's okay. Just beat you up with your own stuff. It's not too much of a doozy. Wait, did I just get a ruby from that? I mean topaz? No. So I did have some complications, like the capture card could only record at 1080p 60 FPS, and so I tried the best I could to even things out. So you're not seeing the best of both worlds, you're seeing like them evened out, but it should be pretty good. So I was going to do Fortnite, but I just wanted to do Star Wars Outlaws so much more. And to come to think of it, I don't have Fortnite installed on my Switch 2 or PC, and I would have to spend a long time signing in to accounts I forgot about. So now that I've played all three games, I'm going to be deciding which one was better. So let's start with Apex Legends, which the PC side won that at a landslide. Like, I could not get any kills on the Switch 2, and I just felt a little worse. But when we get to Breath of the Wild, Switch 2, like, also won by a landslide there. So the last part, which is the Star Wars Outlaws and Where Winds Meet, and I can tell you that they were pretty even. I really cannot tell you which one was better because I was playing both at 1440p and I could not find a single stutter. Maybe there was a stutter in Where Winds Meet, but like I'm telling you, it's just like way too similar for me to not give them both a win for that. So luckily I do have one last section, and that is overall performance. And I've thought this over really well. And if you count the price, the Switch 2 would win this. But if you don't, then I'd say they're pretty even, like performance-wise. I'd say the PC would win in like some games and the Switch 2 would win in others. So I'll give it to the Switch 2 because if it was money-wise, the Switch 2 would just like blow the PC out of the water. Even though my PC has 16 more gigabytes of RAM, but I guess that's not really the big deal in this case. Finally, it's time for the experience that both machines hold for us. And it's pretty interesting, but I won't say anything from my opinion right now. I'll just show you how it feels to set up the PC versus the Switch 2. So when you first get the Switch 2, you're excited to get it up and running. You may be an old fan, or someone who's getting a Nintendo console for the first time. You take the iPad-like console out of the box and turn it on. It asks you to put the Joy-Cons in. Easy enough. You choose your language, also very simple. Next is region, even more simple. Get an internet connection, already done. Choose your time zone, wait for the system to update, and restart. This is where you can transfer the Switch 1 info to the Switch 2 if you have one. Add a user to the Switch 2. Then sign in or create an account, which is optional, but you will need it to get into online features. Now you can play video games from the card or wait for them to download, which will take at most 3 hours. Then whenever you want to play a game, you can get into a game at like 20 seconds tops from turning on the console. Now it's the PC's turn. You're super excited. You've gotten all the parts to build the PC. But where do you start? If you're like me, you searched up a YouTube tutorial and spent the next 5 hours to 3 days building the thing like a 99 plus Lego set. But you're not done, my friend. Oh no. By the way, this is where most people who got a pre-built would start. Ew. You plug in your PC into the monitor, get your grabby hands on a mouse and keyboard, you boot up the PC, and nothing happens. It turns out you made a mistake in building. Well, that's another 2 hours of your life down the drain. But not to worry, there's more. You set up your machine on Windows, in the most likely case. Then you wait for hours for everything to update. Finally, you see the wallpaper of Windows. Then you install Steam, somehow avoiding all the problems I had at this stage. And then you install your games, and you can actually play 1 week later from getting all the parts. Finally, that's the end of the video. I hope you guys liked it. And if you made it this far, I'm kind of like surprised at this point. But this took 3 months to make, so if you could subscribe, that would be really nice. And I think you might like this video based on what you just watched. I'm not sure, but I guess you might like it.